Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I do what I promise. I've got time to read one more poetry reading, which I'm thrilled about. I didn't think I'd eventually do it. In honor of Community Poetry, the open mic reading that Tom Woodruff hosted in North Austin on North Lamar at Half Price Books, I would always read material from Scarce Publications books, and I'd be surrounded by books. So, since that has stopped, since the coronavirus took over the world, dun dun dun, I thought I would read around with some books. And because someone has been writing periodic table essays that have been accepted in both Down in the Dirt and CC&D magazine, both magazines of which I edit at Scarce Publications, I've been putting poetry of mine following it. So I'm going to read you two poems, count them two, that are in the book Unable to Escape It, the CC&D September to December 2022 edition collection book. Brand new. You can find it at Scars.tv. Unable to Escape It. I love how my hand, I could just match up when I'm doing this. Anyway, I'm such a goof. But this is for the element for selenium. And this first one for selenium also happens to appear in the Scars Publications book of my own poetry called The Periodic Table of Poetry. Periodic Table of Poetry. And it is cool because there are 118 elements in the periodic table. So this, for as huge as it is, and it has like multiple ones for elements and isotopes and it's $11.18 for elements 1 through 118 of the periodic table, which I just think is kind of cool. So anyway, so this poem, Selenium, is in both of these books, Unable to Escape It and Periodic Table Poetry. And I hope you enjoy it. Now I find it on the page. And this is called Selenium. Haha. I have wanted them all dead. There's no one else I can say this to. But I've had this overwhelming desire for I don't know how long to see them all suffer exorbitant pain as they all suffer to their last breath. I've been researching ways to extract my vengeance and commit my final solution. It has to be something scientific, something methodical, something so complicated and convoluted that no one would ever suspect me. There's no way I can get used to uranium rods from the nuclear power plant I saw on my last road trip. There's no way I'd get into the Fermi lab nearby, where they discover the radioactive plutonium and get trace amounts of neptunium or plutonium. Because spent or not, these trace amounts of these radioactive elements could still be injected into their food, slipped into their hairspray, shot into their shampoo, and they'd never know what hit them. So, after I scoured the radioactive elements in the periodic table that are used for nuclear weaponry, I glanced back toward the top of the table and saw selenium. Wait a minute. I remember an episode of CSI where the actress who is a character on Melrose Place and later was also the woman on Desperate Housewives, she conspired with another woman where one of them would marry a rich man and would poison him with selenium until they died. And it left one with a hefty sum of money to share with her female compatriot. Okay, time to do some research. Selenium, when discovered, they noted the similarity of selenium to the previously known tellurium, named for the Earth, which is why it was named from the Greek mythology Selene, the archaic lunar deity. Although selenium is used today primarily in glass making and in pigments, it's also used in semiconductors, with selenium's unusual ability for conducting electricity. But the light went off when I read that selenium salts are toxic in large amounts. But here's the key. Trace amounts are necessary in all animals. This reminded me of that CSI episode where that redheaded actress worked with horses, which justified her need for selenium in their lives. Because although selenium is an essential trace element, excess amounts can be toxic. More than 400 micrograms per day can lead to selenosis. Acute oral exposure to selenium can lead to pulmonary edema and lung lesions, and cardiovascular effects like tachycardia, gastrointestinal effects like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and don't forget the severe abdominal pains. Selenium ingestion can lead to cirrhosis of the liver and can cause aches, irritability, chills, and tremors. You know, this element is really starting to look like the way to go for me. Add it to their pizzas and garlic bread, since it leaves a garlic odor in the mouth and their breath, and no one will be the wiser. And the thing is, selenium has an oxidant mode of action similar to that of arsenic, which, as I said, is exactly what I'm looking for. Selenium poisoning of water systems has occurred in the past, possibly resulting whenever new agricultural runoff courses starved. So it became easy to get it into their drinks as well. So now the question for me is how to get it to place it in their food supply. I know some is needed for people who have a selenium deficiency, especially for patients with cancer or AIDS. And if it is needed for animals, I even read a case where animals were given these strong injection levels of selenium that was creating mass horse deaths in the polo tournament. A quick Google search for purchasing selenium will lead to many sites with no prescription needed to get exactly what I'm looking for. The last step is getting it without having it traced back to my name, because once I have it, I can get it into their food and drink with no problem. Because, as I said, my overwhelming desire for I don't know how long was to see them all suffer exorbitant and inexcruciable pain until they all suffered to the last breath, may finally have that last key, because selenium can make everything come together, and no one will be the wiser. You'd really think that I was like having evil plans. You really would. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I shared with you one periodic table poem for element that appears in, I'm losing all my papers here, periodic table of poetry, and in the CC&D September-December 2022 issue collection book, Unable to Escape It. But the next poem I'm going to read to is for selenium as well. That does appear in Unable to Escape It, but it also appears in a Twitter-length poetry book of periodic table poems. A communist friend of mine suggested that there was a contest going on. I should try it. And so I decided I was going to write something for every element, you know, not thinking of when the contest would end. So in the middle of my writing it, they find out that I took third place with magnesium, I think. Or manganese. Number 18 in the periodic table. Anyway, I'll look it up, but you guys don't care right now. Anyway, but I was going to read one for you for selenium. It was magnesium. I was right. I had to look it up in here because it says magnesium burn. Anywho, but I have a Twitter-length poem in this book, Twitterverse periodic table poetry. It is slightly different from this book because this one will, if it has photos for the periodic table poems, it will include them. But because these are all short, they're all in a larger typeface. And there's all these cool images and big things, and you can act like you're, I guess, a kid that wants to look at pictures and not actually read if you're scientifically inclined, if that's how you roll. I don't know, but it's kind of cool for that. And I have one Twitter-length poem for selenium, and it's on that same theme as selenium. There is no image to go with it. I hope you guys enjoy it. Selenium mixing. Good for some organisms. I can still do humans in. Mix me up in all their schmear with added garlic to hide the taste. Mix me in their shampoo, toothpaste, mouthwash, perfume, aftershave. Mix this Greek goddess of the moon in, and they won't even know how they reached eternal night. You'd think that I was devilish, and you'd think that these are my plans, and they're not. They're not really. But that was a Twitterverse periodic table poem. You can find this on Squares Publications. You can find it on Amazon, as well as you can find for any CC&D book like Unable to Escape It. I hope you've enjoyed this reading because it's right in time for the 3 o'clock, and this was in honor of community poetry, a open mic space, reading space, feature space from Tom Woodruff that had to shut down from Half Price Books because of the pandemic and the coronavirus, Corona-19. So I keep it alive. I keep the spirit alive of his open mic. I hope everyone stays safe. I hope everyone stays poetically inclined, and I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you very, very soon. Thank you all so very much, each and every one of you. Thanks. Thank you.